You are reading these words for a reason. Something meaningful is unfolding beneath the surface, and the timing of this message feels anything but ordinary. There are certain moments in life when hidden emotions can no longer stay hidden. Some connections continue to exist even after long stretches of silence. Distance may separate two people. Time may change their circumstances. Life may guide people in completely different directions. Even so, some bonds leave a deep mark that refuses to fade away. Tonight, a message comes from someone who has been carrying thoughts they never had the courage to share. For a very long time, they convinced themselves that remaining silent was the safest decision. They buried their emotions beneath responsibilities, distractions, and everyday routines. They kept telling themselves they had already moved on. They wanted to believe the past belonged exactly where it was, but the truth continued finding its way back. The first thing they want you to understand is very simple. You never truly disappeared from their thoughts. Life continued moving around them. Days turned into weeks. Weeks slowly became months. New experiences arrived and disappeared. New people entered and left their life. Yet through every season, thoughts of you stayed with them. They became skilled at hiding those thoughts. They smiled whenever they needed to smile. They focused on work. They took care of their responsibilities. They stayed as busy as they possibly could. From the outside, everything looked completely normal. Inside, it was another story. There were quiet moments when memories returned without any warning. A familiar location would suddenly remind them of you. A certain melody would instantly bring your face into their mind. An unexpected scent would awaken memories they believed had already disappeared. No matter how much time passed, something about your connection remained alive within them. At first, they tried explaining it away. They told themselves it was only nostalgia. They convinced themselves it was just a habit. They believed it was simply a memory that had not completely faded. But eventually they realized those explanations were never enough. The truth reached much deeper. You were never only a memory. You became part of their inner life. What surprised them most was the way they continued missing you. It did not always happen during difficult moments. Very often it happened during peaceful ones. Whenever something good happened, you were the first person they wanted to tell. Whenever they felt proud of an achievement, they wished they could share it with you. Whenever life became calm, they noticed the empty space where your presence once existed. That realization came much later than it should have. They finally understood something important. Not everyone saw them the way you did. Not everyone understood them on such a deep level. Not everyone made them feel truly seen. For a long time, they thought about reaching out. Far more times than you could ever imagine. Messages were typed and erased. Phone calls almost happened. Your name appeared on their screen over and over again. Yet fear always found a way to interrupt. What if you no longer cared? What if you had completely moved forward? What if contacting you only reopened wounds that had finally started healing? Those questions stopped them again and again, so they stayed silent. Days passed. Then months followed. Eventually, the silence became a barrier of its own. The second thing they want you to understand is something they learned through experience. Silence can destroy what feelings alone cannot protect. Caring deeply about someone is never enough if those feelings remain unspoken. People cannot always recognize what stays hidden. Love cannot continue growing where communication disappears. Looking back today, they understand this much more clearly. Some opportunities appear only once. Some people enter your life and change it forever. Some connections are simply too rare to take for granted. They know that now. Every relationship that came afterward felt different. Something important was missing. Conversations felt incomplete. Every connection seemed temporary. No matter how hard they tried, they could never recreate what they once shared with you. That realization became impossible to ignore. They found themselves comparing every new experience with the one they had lost. Not because they wanted to, but because it happened naturally. When a connection touches the deepest part of your heart, it changes your understanding of what is possible. It creates a standard that cannot easily be replaced. Little by little, they stopped running from that truth. Instead, they accepted it, and accepting it changed everything. The third thing they need you to hear is perhaps the most important of all. They no longer want to carry unspoken words. Something inside them has changed. The excuses no longer feel convincing. The fear no longer feels as powerful. The desire to speak honestly has become stronger than the desire to remain protected. For a very long time, they believed silence would keep them safe. Now they understand silence has consequences of its own. Every message they never sent carried a price. Every conversation they avoided carried a price. Every opportunity they missed carried a price. Eventually, those costs became impossible to ignore. Today, they find themselves standing at a crossroads. One direction leads back into silence. The other leads toward honesty. For the first time, truth feels more valuable than comfort. If they decide to reach out, it is not because they are uncertain. It is because they finally recognize what truly matters. They understand what was lost. They understand what was learned. They understand the value of everything that once existed between you. Most importantly, they understand honesty cannot be delayed forever. They are not expecting perfection. They are not expecting immediate forgiveness. They are not demanding another opportunity. More than anything else, they want clarity. They want a genuine conversation. They want an honest exchange. They want a moment where nothing remains hidden. They want you to know your impact on their life was far greater than you ever realized. Losing you changed something inside them. The lessons remained long after the separation. The memories remained long after the distance. The emotions remained long after the silence. Whether the future brings a fresh beginning or a final goodbye, they believe the truth deserves to be spoken. Some truths eventually become too heavy to carry alone, and this is one of those truths. Recently, something has started changing. You may have noticed unexpected reminders appearing in your own life. A familiar name, a familiar place, a familiar song, a memory appearing when you least expected it. These moments may seem small, yet they often carry deeper meaning. They arrive during a season when old emotions are slowly returning to the surface. The person who once walked away is no longer exactly the same individual. Life has taught them lessons they could not have learned in any other way. Experience has shown them what truly matters. Reflection has revealed mistakes they once refused to acknowledge. They have spent a great deal of time looking back and carefully examining the choices they made. Many things appear much clearer now. They recognize the moments when fear controlled their decisions. They recognize the moments when pride stood in their way. They recognize the moments when vulnerability seemed impossible. Now they understand real strength often requires openness. Real courage often requires honesty. Real growth often requires accepting painful truths. As these realizations continue becoming stronger, they feel less able to remain silent. Distance no longer brings comfort. Avoidance no longer creates peace. Pretending no longer feels possible. The connection still exists inside them whether they admit it or not. And that awareness continues growing stronger with each passing day. At the same time, something has also changed within you. You are no longer standing where you once stood emotionally. You have learned important lessons. You have grown in meaningful ways. You have healed. You have discovered strength that may not have existed before. Because of that growth, everything has shifted. You no longer need answers the way you once did. You no longer depend on another person's choices to determine your worth. You have become stronger because of everything you experienced. That strength is important. If communication happens, remember your value. Listen carefully to actions instead of promises. Pay attention to consistency rather than emotion alone. Give time the opportunity to reveal what words cannot. Genuine change is always demonstrated through behavior. Real growth becomes visible. Real intentions reveal themselves through consistent effort. Whatever happens next, trust yourself. Trust the wisdom you gained through experience. Trust the lessons that shaped your journey. Trust the strength that carried you through every difficult moment. The story ahead has not yet been written. There are still decisions waiting to be made. There are still truths waiting to be discovered. There are still conversations that may eventually happen. But one thing is certain. You no longer have to wonder whether the connection truly mattered. It mattered. You no longer have to question whether the feelings were genuine. They were genuine. You also no longer need to wonder whether your presence left a lasting mark. It did. Some people enter another person's life for only a short time, yet they leave behind lessons that remain for years. Some connections quietly shape the heart, long after the conversation ends. Some memories continue living, even when life keeps moving forward. That is why this message matters. Not because it promises a specific ending, but because it reminds you that what was shared carried real meaning. Whatever comes next will be decided by the choices made today, not by the fears that once kept everything hidden. If the silence finally ends, allow actions to speak louder than expectations. Allow honesty to replace assumptions. Allow patience to reveal what is genuine. There is no need to rush. There is no need to force anything. The strongest connections are built through truth, respect, consistency, and time. No matter what happens in the days ahead, never forget the growth you have achieved. Never forget the strength you discovered. Never forget the value you carry. Those things belong to you, and no one can take them away. The future remains unwritten. New chapters are still waiting. New conversations may begin. New understanding may appear. Whatever path unfolds, move forward with confidence, because you now know something that once remained uncertain. The connection mattered, the memories mattered, the lessons mattered, and above all, the truth mattered. You no longer need to question whether this experience changed both of your lives. It certainly did. Now the future depends on the decisions that are made from this moment onward. Whether those decisions open the door to a fresh chapter or bring a lasting sense of closure. Trust that you are ready for whatever comes next. Something is shifting. The silence is beginning to fade. The truth is moving closer. Before long, what has stayed hidden for so much time may finally be revealed. This is happening because the person from your past has reached a place where they can no longer keep their true emotions hidden behind the image they present to everyone else. They are tired of pretending. They are worn out from acting as if they were completely at peace with the way everything ended between the two of you. For a long time, they tried to convince themselves that letting go was simple. They focused on other parts of life and did everything they could to avoid looking back. Yet every time they attempted to leave the past behind, the memory of your sincere heart kept pulling them back. They have realized something deeply important. They may meet new people and have new conversations, but finding someone who understands them on the same level has not been easy. That realization has become impossible to ignore. It is the reason they are finally reaching a point where staying silent no longer feels possible. You may soon see a side of them that once seemed impossible. In the past, they protected themselves with pride and emotional distance. They hid behind explanations. They stayed away from difficult conversations. They convinced themselves that remaining guarded was the safest path. But over time, that protective wall has slowly become weaker. When they finally speak, they will not sound like the person you once knew. The emotional distance will be gone. The excuses will disappear. What will remain is honesty. They have spent enough time living without your presence to understand how much space you truly filled within their heart. They are preparing to admit that much of their life after losing you has been filled with distractions. They kept themselves occupied. They stayed constantly busy. They searched for ways to avoid facing what they genuinely felt. Eventually, they realized that escaping emotions never creates real peace. It only creates a deeper sense of loneliness. Now they find themselves standing before an important choice. On one side stands the fear of rejection. On the other side stands the pain of never discovering whether understanding could still exist between you. That inner struggle becomes stronger with every passing day. At the same time, this season is not only about their personal growth. It is also about your own journey. There was a period when you searched endlessly for answers. There was a period when you looked for signs and waited patiently for clarity. That chapter is coming to an end. The roles have now changed. You are no longer standing in uncertainty. You are standing in the confidence that comes through self-discovery. While you have continued growing, they have been forced to face the parts of themselves they once refused to acknowledge. You have built a life that keeps moving forward. You have discovered strength. You have discovered peace. You have learned how to stand firmly on your own. That transformation has become impossible for them to overlook. Your independence now draws their attention in a way they never expected. They see someone who no longer depends on outside validation. They see someone who survived disappointment and became even stronger because of it. That realization has completely changed the dynamic. The old struggles for control no longer matter. The old games no longer have any meaning. If they return, they must return as an equal. They must be willing to meet you with the same emotional depth that you always offered them. Life is creating a chance for truth to finally become part of this story. This is not about forcing two people back together. It is not about repeating old mistakes or old habits. It is about recognizing what was real. It is about finally seeing the entire picture. For a very long time, there were unanswered questions. There were missing pieces. There were words that remained unspoken. Now those missing pieces are slowly falling into place. Whether the outcome becomes a new beginning or a peaceful ending, you will finally know the truth. You will no longer have to keep wondering. You will no longer have to keep guessing. You will understand that your feelings were genuine. You will understand that the connection truly mattered. You were never too much. You simply crossed paths with someone who was not prepared for the kind of connection you were able to offer. Now that they are finally waking up to this truth, The decision about the future belongs to you. It is here to bring you clarity. It is here to offer the answers you have been looking for. It is here to help you move ahead with confidence, no matter which path your future chooses. The uncertainty is slowly disappearing. The hidden reality is coming into view. The answers you have been searching for are drawing closer every single day. And when they finally reach you, you will realize that you are completely ready to receive them. You already showed your strength by choosing yourself. Now life is placing the final pieces together so the truth can finally come into full view. The moment of contact is nearer than ever before. This person is now standing face to face with their greatest fear. They are beginning to understand that staying silent hurts far more than the possibility of being rejected. They have looked at the life they created without you and noticed something meaningful. They managed to survive, but surviving is not the same as truly feeling fulfilled. That realization has created a deep sense of urgency inside them. They know that time keeps moving forward. They know that opportunities are not available forever. And they understand that pride is no longer worth the price they have been paying. For the first time in a very long while, they are prepared to risk everything for the sake of honesty. The message that is coming may not be flawless. It may not be carefully prepared. It may not follow a perfect plan. But it will be sincere. And sometimes the strongest truths arrive in exactly that simple way. They have finally stopped looking for the perfect excuse to reach out. They have stopped trying to create the perfect explanation. They have stopped inventing stories that make their silence feel easier to defend. What remains now is one simple truth that feels heavier than anything else. They miss you. That truth stays with them wherever they go. It follows them through peaceful mornings. It follows them through busy afternoons. It follows them through long evenings when nobody is there to distract their thoughts. For a long time they believed they would eventually forget. They believed enough time would erase the connection. They believed distance would slowly weaken the memories. They believed life would naturally replace everything that had been lost. None of those expectations became reality. Instead, they discovered that some people leave a permanent impression. No matter how much time goes by, the feeling remains. They are preparing to admit they were mistaken. They are preparing to admit that forgetting you was never truly possible. They are preparing to admit that when courage mattered the most, fear took control. When honesty was needed, they remained silent. When action was necessary, they hesitated. They understand that now. The weight of this realization has become impossible for them to ignore. This level of honesty is something they rarely reveal to anyone. Most people only know the version of them that feels comfortable and protected. Most people only see the walls they built. Most people never get close enough to discover what exists underneath those walls. You did. You noticed parts of them that they often tried to keep hidden. You recognized their potential before they were able to recognize it within themselves. You noticed strengths they failed to see. You noticed possibilities they were too afraid to accept. That is one of the reasons they cannot stop thinking about you. You truly saw them, and now they find themselves wanting to see that version of themselves once again through your eyes. As everything continues unfolding, you are standing in a very different place than you once were. You are no longer consumed by the situation. You are no longer controlled by unanswered questions. You have changed. You have grown stronger. You have learned valuable lessons through every challenge that crossed your path. Your strength is no longer delicate. It is steady. It is secure. It is genuine. Because of that personal growth, their return no longer carries the same emotional weight it once did. There was a time when receiving a message from them could have completely changed your entire day. There was a time when simply hearing their name could have awakened endless emotions. Now everything feels different. You have built a deeper relationship with yourself. You understand your own value. You understand your own worth. You understand that your happiness is not dependent on another person's decisions. That is why their presence feels different now. It is no longer a powerful wave capable of pulling you beneath the surface. It is only a small ripple moving across the surface of a much deeper, stronger version of yourself. You are now the one guiding the direction. You are the one making the choices. You are the one deciding what truly belongs in your future. As they move closer to speaking their truth, you will begin to notice an even stronger sense of clarity. You will be able to look beyond appearances. You will be able to recognize genuine sincerity. You will be able to recognize real effort. You will be able to tell whether true change has actually happened. No mask will remain for very long. No performance will deceive you. No carefully selected words will have meaning unless they are supported by real actions. You have reached a stage where intuition and experience work together naturally. That combination gives you remarkable insight. You will quickly recognize whether they have truly changed or whether they are only searching for relief from their own loneliness. This season is no longer about proving yourself. That chapter has already ended. You have already survived the hardest moments. You have already done the inner work. You have already faced the pain. Now the focus shifts toward them. Now they are the ones facing difficult questions. Now they are the ones dealing with the results of past choices. Now they are the ones searching for understanding. The balance has changed. Life has a unique way of creating moments where the truth can finally come forward. This is one of those important moments. The deeper purpose behind everything happening now is release. For a long time, there has been unfinished energy between the two of you. There have been unanswered questions. There have been assumptions. There have been stories created to fill the empty spaces left behind by silence. Soon those empty spaces may finally begin to close. The truth has a powerful way of clearing away confusion. It allows people to see situations exactly as they truly were. That does not mean you must reopen old doors. It does not mean you must give someone another opportunity. It simply means you finally receive information that was missing before. You finally receive answers that were unavailable in the past. You finally understand things that once seemed impossible to explain. One of the most important realizations waiting for you is this. Many of the reasons you blamed yourself were never yours to carry. Many of the questions that kept you awake had nothing to do with your worth. Many of the doubts you experienced were created by someone else's fears, not by your own shortcomings. Understanding this can feel incredibly freeing. It allows you to release burdens that never truly belonged to you. It allows you to move ahead with confidence. It allows you to stop carrying responsibility for choices that belong to someone else. The waiting season is coming to an end. The uncertainty is slowly disappearing. The need to keep guessing is fading away. A new level of understanding is beginning to replace it. At this very moment, this person is struggling with thoughts of reaching out to you. Your image appears in their mind much more often than they ever expected. Memories return without warning. Past conversations continue replaying in their thoughts again and again. Small details they once ignored suddenly feel meaningful. They keep returning to moments where they could have spoken more openly, moments where they could have listened more carefully, moments where they could have chosen a different path. Those memories have become difficult for them to escape. What first started as an occasional reflection has now become an ongoing conversation inside their heart. Their heart keeps pushing them toward honesty. Their emotions continue pushing them toward action.